everybody. I am Yolanda Marie. All right, so I have another update for you today. Hello. I am sorry I wanted to get here earlier. I have to say that, but my body would not allow me to do it. So I just want to let you know some of these messages are actually continuations from the last video. But there are some, because it's the new moon, right? I didn't expect to be doing this video on the day that we get this new super moon. This energy, this is super manifestational energy that's happening right now, okay? It is what you have planned for yourself. This is what's going on. This is leading into this, yes, I'm going to say it, into this election. You're not going to hear me talk about the election much, but this energy is definitely leading, pushing toward the election. It's what they're going to talk about just a little bit, and then we're going to back up, okay? And we're going to go. Now, let me just start by saying they want you to consciously focus in on your new timeline, especially when there are interruptions, okay? And of course, I've got my handy laptop here, so I'm definitely going to be looking at that. And they're already here, so please receive all of these codes, frequencies, set the intentions to receive it through your heart, through clarity, okay? And integrate it accordingly like that, okay? So I just have to say that, but they're definitely, they're already ready to go, okay? So they want you to consciously focus in on your new timeline, especially when there are interruptions, stagnation. Maintain constant forward movement in this way. Just begin to think, I'm still quoting them, okay? Just begin to think, what is my new timeline parallel here? Whether it's a new thought, whether it's a new behavior, whether it's a new mode of operation, like a process, for instance. Now, in those readings, in those October readings, I can't remember which sign, might have been Virgos, it doesn't matter, but you know who you are, developing these new processes, refining your process, right? And then here they come again, you know, saying you might be needing to refocus your process in this direction of your new timeline, right? Like put it in that frame of reference. And so they're saying, because your paradigm is shifting. I want to say that again, refocus yourself on your new paradigm shifting is how they put it. Again, your paradigm is shifting. Let that in. Receive that. Your paradigm is shifting. This is for everybody that is listening to me right now, whenever it finds you, okay? Your paradigm is shifting. All right. And so now we're going to get into this new collective cycle of expansion, okay? And I shouldn't say it's not new. It's not new. It's a new way of thinking about it, all right? But it's not a new collective cycle of expansion. This has been going on, but now they've been showing it to me in terms of visualizing it like a balloon that is expanding, okay? So this is one way to think of it. And let's just say the most asleep people would be in the center of this expanding balloon, while those who have already been dropping layers little by little, right, those layers of beautiful souls are on the outer parts of the balloon. So this is a visualization, all right? And so this is what they're going to talk about, and I may have described that to you all like that before. I'm not really sure, but you're going to probably hear that a little bit, and eventually I'll probably get a whiteboard out and we'll really go into some quantum stuff that they've been bringing in, but it's just not quite time for, like, basically there's other stuff they want to talk about first. That's all that's going on. And many of you listening are already going to be on this. You might have your own way of visualizing it, but you are going to know exactly what they are talking about, okay? How we're pulling each other. In fact, the last channeling, the message that the Arcturians gave was about this, okay? And so what they're saying here is that there will be the higher selves also involved by instigating either conscious or unconscious behavior, and they're talking about in awakened humans, to either push others to expand or pull something out, but it's a relationship there between, they're talking about two different beings now, okay? Specifically. And so they're saying sometimes this pushing might seem to others as though it's beyond their capability. And also it could seem to the other person like the person has shut down. So if you're in this sort of exchange, let's call it an exchange, and it could be more than two people, but certainly, but there's an exchange going on where one person is sort of pulling something out of the other or pushing the other to expand one way, and then they feel like they feel a roadblock, and that's real what they're feeling. Right? What they're feeling is the other person's human though, and that's what they're going to get to. They're feeling the human, but the higher selves, the other person's multi-dimensional self is right there in the engagement. Both are. All right, and it's all perfect. So I'm just gonna, because I don't want to miss anything about what they brought through, what was brought through. Okay, and so what happens is both parties will think they are not ready, right? Pushing too hard, or one thinks they're seeing potential in the other, but the other doesn't seem to want to rise to that potential. Notice they said seem like, okay? Now, many teachers and guides now are thinking this is the case, and they're saying this is a sensible thought. This isn't like, you know, radical to think this. It's going to feel like that. And again, what I just said previously, what was said, you are actually going to be feeling accurately. Your radar is not off. You're feeling the human energy at that moment, okay? And so what's really happening is the push and the pull is operating in synchronicity with the corresponding collective cycle of expansion. So the balloon we talked about, all right? So that exchange is gonna directly contribute to this balloon. It's all good. And so when optimal capacity for expansion, now I'm going to start this again because it gets wordy, of course, right? But when optimal capacity for expansion within the particular cycle in that exchange, right? When that is reached, the pressure will begin to release. It will begin to decrease and it will relax. And so, but the stretching that has happened has helped the entire cycle, okay? It has helped the entire human consciousness to reach a new high. That's what's gone on. And so on individual levels, humans did expand. They ballooned out to different degrees, all right? And they're not even talking right now about just the two of you involved in that exchange. All humans, or humans engaged within the stream of focus, somewhere within reach of the stream of focus of those two people, if you think of it like a web, okay? They've also ballooned out to different degrees according to the exchange, okay? So they're also reaching varying higher baseline frequencies, and they're also dropping loads of distortion and trauma. All of this is going on and maneuvering around just this one exchange. So imagine all of these different exchanges going on within awakened people. Like consciously, imagine that. The conscious layer is engaging and the multidimensional layers of all are engaging in this web as it balloons out in expansion. Okay? It is really, really, really wonderful, intricately connected, and perfection. If anything can be called perfection, right? Because we're always in motion. So what is perfect? What is perfect, right? Always in motion. But yeah, it is really wonderful. And they even say here, as they're dropping all of these loads of trauma and all of this stuff is going on, whether it's a small leap or a large leap, everybody contributed. And so there will really not be a mistake made here. You're not pushing each other too hard. You're not stopping too soon, you know, in your engagement. So there's a lot of that too, like maybe I should have kept pushing. No, everything is happening. When you feel that it's time to stop pushing, stop pushing. It's already engaged. And if you're on the, and we're often, of course, on the other side of that coin as well, because we're engaging each other, we're teaching each other. So then if you're in the position that you're the one receiving and it's like, okay, it's time to like release this moment, you know, and just allow the rest because I feel like I'm hitting a roadblock. You haven't hit, your human has hit the roadblock for a moment, temporarily, but it's the engagement has occurred. It's amazing. The engagement has occurred and the incitement has happened already. All right, so yeah, that's perfect. I'm just going to scroll up here, okay? And so now this next part of the information, because I think we can continue and just go a little bit further, and then I'm going to have to stop because the video will probably get too long. But I want to get into, I should say, we want to get in to what is going on, again, pushing into what's going on in early November, right? Politically and all of this other stuff, right? This ballooning of energy that will happen, that's the important part. The details, you know, are the details, right? But the energy is everything. Where we want to be focused consciously, and conscious awareness is the manifestational energy. Bringing us back to the first message at the beginning of the video about where to refocus into your new timeline, refocus your energy that way. And so where it looks very negative, and now this is about people who are unawakened, either completely unawakened, right, to any of this, or maybe they're awakened to facts and things like that and some details, but the heart is still very constricted at this time, right? And so, and those are primarily the ones who are going to be very, very engaged in the tumultuous goings on, the business of, and the busyness, right? The mental busyness, and the traumas and everything going on. Distortion flying around during early November. And it's already flying around now, but it's going to, there's going to be a little bit of a bursting, okay? That's going to happen. And so where it looks very negative, people on different sides are following two different streams, etc., all of that stuff, okay? Just sort of like the parting of ways, like the two opposite poles, all of that, and the friction, right? The dissolution that's going to occur there, and how they put it is what is going to be tilling the soil, so to speak, bringing fertile ground. Yeah, and so really, really take in and visualize what they're saying there, because this is where our manifestational energies come in and our magical abilities come in when we begin to picture this ground, right, being tilled, this soil being tilled. All right, and so that is going to make this extremely fertile ground for new thought processes, new systems, okay? And all of these other things. There are big coming energies of co-creation and balancing. And they were specific enough to say the energy of balancing is very active energies of balancing. So what that means is humans are going to be actively, where a lot of this was on other levels before and not in the human level, right, of action. There's going to be human level of action, of balancing among people who were previously unawakened, and they will still be, you know, a lot unawakened to what we know, but they will be beginning to expand. Yeah, and I was just double checking that. Yes, and they will be beginning to expand. Light is the word. Lightly expanding, still engaged, lightly expanding, however willing. Actively willing to seek. And so that brings it into this next point, all right? This big death and rebirth cycle, which will begin to occur. We're already in it, but it's like, again, it's a bursting of energy here. There will be another big bursting of energy, we all know, around December the 21st, okay? And these are cycles, okay? And so what is happening is all of this is pushing human consciousness into a different dynamic of thought. A different dynamic of thought, research, and new curiosity. Now, this is very important, this curiosity. And the Arcturians coming in just a second ago to say it's a light willingness, right? To seek. It's this curiosity. That is a big deal right there. And of course, then action. Now, that is where I'm going to stop this particular update, okay? There's more, it does continue, there's more information, and there pretty much always is, guys. More information, it would be just never ending. And so we will talk about some other information about truths coming through distortions. And I think they want to get into that just a little bit now. they're saying that there is a lot of truth coming through that will also affect these people who are going to be inspired to have this willingness. It's coming through now, but what's happening, why it's hitting a road, it seems to be hitting more roadblocks, is because much of the truths are trying to come through vessels or venues or energies that are hold a lot of distortion. And so that's felt energetically, and because it is felt energetically by the receiver, it's either blocked or it is received and the distortions play with each other. The distortion muddies the clarity. The hearts are not expanded enough, and they get into this more with this information. Some of what they talk about, they're saying, so I'll go ahead and read some of this here. They're saying, so in other words, when they're receiving, because they're receiving the messages through lower frequencies, they also put it that way, okay? The frequencies do not engage the heart. Now, this is what has been occurring, all right? They do not engage the heart. And so the details of the information are integrating at the lower levels of consciousness with the heavier 3D emotions that are already being carried there, see? Those themes and that programming, right? But they're saying, but this is not finite. And I'm quoting them, this is not a finite thing. It is an ongoing process, of course. It is cyclical. So in other words, it's going to keep coming back around where each time they're going to receive a little bit more. But that is what is the slowing of the process a little bit. All right. And so they're saying as the information comes back around, it may be potentially through a higher frequency, right? Maybe a higher frequency vessel or venue or whatever, okay? And it will engage and attach to the previous information. So within the person's memory, they will be holding some of the previous information, so little bits of it, and they will magnetize to each other and it will build. So this is how this cycle is occurring with people who are very resistant to waking up to what's going on. But clearly from their multidimensional perspectives, from their higher selves, they are going to eventually awaken, and they are playing a role. They will be playing a role, right? In consciously helping humanity expand on a much more conscious level. But this is what has been happening. All right, and they say as it rises, it is more and more understood through the heart. And they're saying another way to look at this is that for a while, the information they receive is not really helping them release things yet. This is just another sort of flip side way to look at this, okay? So it wasn't really helping them to release their own trauma yet, because the information coming in was accompanied by trauma. Just a different way to look at what was said, okay? And so now, basically, with each cycle, there's going to be a little bit less and less of that as we all remember the balloon, how we're all connected as we're all dropping the trauma. I mean, the bottom line is, and you'll hear this a lot through us, okay? The bottom line is, it is well. It is well. The more that we are less focused on the details of what we think is not going well, or what is polarized, or what, just all of these details that are lower frequency and engaged in the trauma, engaged at that level, the more we're able to bring in and create and really exercise the beautiful manifestational abilities that we are accessing and remembering within ourselves. But yeah, so that is the update. That is what is called for through me to tell you guys right now. So if anything else comes up, I may try to get back on camera again sooner. We'll see. We know how that goes. Sometimes it might take a week, it might take two, I don't know. But I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for being here. I hope all of that made sense, okay? And of course, if something didn't, always leave a question down below. And again, I love you guys so much. Namaste.